Sometime during the end of the first semester, my friends and I wanted to go somewhere and get away for a week or two. It was a girls' trip with Sam, Beth and I. Lucky for us, winter break was just around the corner. We were going up into a cabin in the woods. The place had a nice little pond, and everything seemed so great and peaceful. The place looked like an ideal winter wonderland. "Hey, Aid, we should stop by a store to get some snacks and groceries for the next 2 weeks," Sam said to me. I nodded in agreement. The trip to the store was nothing other than a success. We really had no suspicion whatsoever about where we were staying. It's an Airbnb. The reviews are great, and add to that, the couple who owns the place reduced the price down for us college students for the next 2 weeks. When we got to the cabin up in the hills, the couple seems to already be at the cabin. They were waiting to give us the keys and directions, so when I got out of the car and to the front door, I was surprised to see a young man in a navy blue coat. "I'm Max. My parents couldn't make it here to give you the place, so they sent me instead. Sorry about the whole inconvenience." He smiled while walking up to the porch of the cabin. The guy was cute, not gonna lie. "It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm Adrian," I politely responded. As a car door closed, he turned his head to the sound, bringing into my view his Roman nose. It's not extremely important, just something I noticed. "Well, you girls have fun and don't die," he joked, giving me the keys to the cabin, and just after that, he went and left. It was odd that he left right away without giving any general tips. After dinner, since we got there late afternoon, everyone took a shower and everything seemed all right. So naturally, for the next week, we just enjoyed the snow. Other than hanging out, we also became closer as friends. "This is way too good to be true. Like, honestly," I giggled with the girls. "I mean, only $500 for a 2-week stay? Come on, that's literally only 5 nights at a 3-star motel. I mean, the couple seemed nice. Besides, why overthink?" Sam said to me. Add to that, this place has to have something off for it to be this cheap. I nodded to that statement. Then again, the reviews here are extremely well. What can you do or say? Beth smiled. The oven dinged. "The cupcakes are ready, girls," Beth said cheerfully. She's been baking. I mean, getting over a failed semester test requires hobbies, right? "Well, I'm gonna go take a bath because we all need a break every now and then," Sam said. I laughed at her for saying that. "What? You don't like baths?" "No, Sam, we're literally on a break," I joked. She chuckled at my comment. Then into the bathroom she went. "Hey, Beth." "What's up?" "You know that a grade doesn't define who you are, right?" I looked at her. I know it was bad to mention it. "Yay, let's change the subjects. How about us two? Explore the cabin and the forest around. We haven't had any quality friend times." Beth said, "Aid, it'll be fun, I promise. Besides, what secrets are held in these woods?" "Fine. Only because I saw a shack around 40 feet away from the back porch." I let out a huge sigh. She's not facing her problems. Again. I slipped on some sweatpants over my shorts and threw on my coat. "Hey, Sam! We'll be back in 10 or 20!" I yelled. I heard nothing back, though I wasn't surprised. Walking to the shack was a little trouble, but when we looked at the whole thing, it was small and broken down. I smelled something rotting, and that was unpleasant. I looked at Beth, and we both nodded. I opened the shack's door. As it creaks open, a horrid smell escaped. I looked into the shack to see a table. I started gagging. I slammed the door shut and stopped myself from regurgitating my lunch. I hear snow platforms being broken into. Another person is around. I looked up at Beth. Her eyes widened, and the pupil of her blue orbs looked like a tiny dot in a drawing. I heard foreign footsteps were getting louder. I grabbed Beth by the arm and ran back to the cabin. I slammed the door shut and locked it. While running, I glanced back and saw Max, covered in cold, dried blood. I ran to the bathroom door. "Sam! Sam, we need to leave, now!" I yelled and screamed, slamming on the door. With that, the lock broke, and I busted the door open. The only thing I see is a tub full of diluted blood and smudged red on the wall tiles. "Beth! Sam isn't in here! The wall is covered in blood! Call the police!" I looked back and I see Beth crying on the floor. I grabbed my phone and dialed the police. It felt like my whole world was collapsing on me. 911, what's your emergency? We found dismembered corpses in the shack of the Airbnb we rented, and my friend is missing. There's blood in the bath's water and blood all over the wall. I started panicking. With every word, my sentences got faster and I couldn't breathe. "Mom, I need you to calm down," the woman said to me. I tried to calm down and started to breathe. "What is your location?" I gave them my location. I gave them the property name, everything I could to get them here, faster. I just need them here. "Okay, the police will be there within 10 minutes. Please wait and keep all doors locked until they arrive." When the police were finally here, they questioned us and looked around the place. They told us to go home, that they'll put out something on Sam. Someone asked me about who I've seen during this trip. I told them that there was a guy, he said that his name was Max. He had light brown hair and green eyes. "Is there any prominent features about the man?" The policeman who was questioning me seemed annoyed by this. His brows furrowed when he asked me that question, and I felt like wasting his time. I looked down at the ground. I can't think of anything else other than that he said that he was the owner's son and he had a very structured Roman nose. That's all I know, I'm sorry. I tried to calm myself down. After questionings, we were told to go back to our home and just wait. A week later, I'm here in my room. I haven't gone to any classes. They marked it as trauma and let me just skip. I got a call from the station yesterday. "Thank you for calling us right away. We found the owner's corpses in that shack you told us about. They were dismembered and being wrapped up, most likely for cannibalism or trades. As for your friend, I'm sorry to deliver this bad news, but the bloody water was actually acid. It's a chemical that dissolves you slowly. But as for the man, the owners didn't have a son. Of course, you didn't know that. We're also trying to track him down. We believe that he skipped town." It all started this past November. I had a major job interview in Toronto at a graphic design firm. They needed me in the city for a few days, as there were 2 training sessions I had to attend along with this interview. Because I live in Niagara, which is about a 2-hour drive away, I decided that it would be wise just to stay at a hotel, so I wouldn't have to drive back and forth every day. About a week before the interview, I was at my boyfriend's house looking online for relatively cheap hotels. He brought up that I should go on a website called Airbnb. I ended up finding a woman who was going on vacation for about a week during the exact time I was supposed to be in Toronto. She was renting out her apartment for $50 a night, which I thought was very generous. I ended up giving her a call, and we arranged the time I would be coming over. The apartment building was very run down. The windows looked like they hadn't been cleaned in years, and the brick walls were crumbling and discolored. But $50 a night seemed so perfect compared to hundreds of dollars a night at a hotel. I knocked on the old wooden door with the number 14 painted in gold and waited a few moments before the woman swung it open and greeted me with a smile. She was a lot younger than I expected, maybe in her late 20s. Her blonde hair was tied up into a messy bun. "You made it," she exclaimed. "Come in, come in." She gestured into the room, which I am relieved to say was very clean and welcoming. It was definitely one of those "don't judge a book by its cover" moments. I've always hated that saying. By the way, heard it too often as a kid. She gave me the quickest tour of an apartment that I have ever received, briefly pointing to the kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, and hallway closet. It was a small space, but perfect for me. I was still examining my surrounding when she interrupted with, "So, you're all set then, I'm going to go." I barely had any time to speak with her. She seemed to be in a huge rush. "Wait," I said, trying to catch up to her as she made her way out the door, carrying a large backpack. "Is there anything I should know?" She shook her head slowly, locking eyes with me for a few moments too long. Without speaking, she left. I made myself comfortable for a little while, unpacking and fixing myself a quick snack in the kitchen. I had about 45 minutes before I had to leave for my interview. It was very late when I got back. The apartment building was pitch black except for a small light at the top of the staircase that flickered every few seconds. I used the light from my phone to make my way up the stairs to apartment 14. I wondered who else was living in the building. I hadn't seen anyone since I arrived. It was too quiet. From the doorway, I was able to see into the bedroom. The first thing I noticed was that a few of my clothes were sprawled over the floor. I came to the conclusion that I must have been in a rush when I was getting ready for the interview and forgot to clean up. I was tired, so I had a quick shower and jumped into bed. The mattress wasn't very comfortable, but I was so exhausted that I drifted right into sleep. A loud shuffling somewhere in the apartment woke me up with a startle. I sat up and squinted to try and see through the darkness. Just before I was about to lay back down to sleep, thinking it was just one of my neighbors in their apartment, I saw a shape. At first, I thought it was one of the women's elaborate curtains playing tricks with my eyes in the dark. But then it moved, just ever so slightly. The black shape was tall and lanky. It almost resembled a man, but it was just too hard to see. I inched my arm for the light switch, my heart pounding out of my chest. Just before the light flickered on, the figure fell on all fours and crawled inhumanly out of sight. "What the hell?" I couldn't help but whisper. With the light now on, I got up and slowly made my way around the apartment, trying to find what I just saw. But there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Without anything else I could do, I went back to bed. There must have been a logical explanation for what happened. In the morning, I called the woman. I asked her if she had anyone else that lived with her that maybe came into the room last night, not expecting me to be there. She paused for a while and then answered with no and insisted she was busy and had to go. When I came back that night, I felt extra cautious. I brought a knife with me to bed, placing it under my pillow. I was woken up once again at about 2 a.m. This time the figure was much closer than it was the previous night. I gasped, so filled with fright that I couldn't move or scream. Its face lingered in the dark, except for 2 dark circles where his eyes must have been. I tried to scream once again, but it came out like a loud choke. Whatever this was, it reached its finger up to its mouth with a soft shh. The sound was so haunting it sent a shiver down my neck. Shh, don't tell. I must have passed out because when I woke up it was morning. It couldn't be real. I was brought up my whole life not to believe in these things. But what if it was actually a disfigured man? Or what if it was something I only heard of in nightmares? I shook my head to rid the craziness. I left for my second training session. The very last day I had to be here. When I came back to the apartment around 10 p.m., I couldn't help but linger outside of the door. I stared at the large 14 painted on the door, trying to find the courage to lift my key out of my pocket to open it. I told myself that all I had to do was last one more night, and I'd be gone in the morning. I decided to sleep on the couch in the front room this time. This way I was even closer to the front door, so I could hear it opening if this thing decided to greet me again. It took me a long time to fall asleep. I watched 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and 3 a.m. go by on the clock. I must have dozed off because I woke up from a cold breeze. It was 3:47 a.m. I sat up on the couch to see that the window was open, making the curtains sway in the wind. As I got up to go close it, ready to call the police, I heard the soft shh behind me. I closed my eyes and started to cry. It got louder and louder. I slowly turned around to face this creature. It was crouched by the TV just a few feet away from me. It didn't move. It just kept its finger up to its lips. I feared that if I reached for my phone to call the cops, it would come straight for me. "Please," I whispered. It was all I could manage to get out. "Shh. Don't tell," it said. And the scariest thing, since the first time I had seen this thing, was that it started to smile. It was smiling. Although it was dark, I could see the shadowed smile that hasn't left my mind in all the months that have passed. I remained completely still, and it stayed there for a few more minutes before it crawled past the couch and onto the windowsill, looking at me one more time before jumping out. I jolted for my phone and called my boyfriend. I told him everything. I was surprised he even understood me because I was such a mess. "Should I call the police?" I asked frantically. "The police won't believe what you are saying. It's hard for me to even comprehend. I think you need to come home. You sound sleep-deprived, and I think it's making you see things." My heart sunk. Even my own boyfriend didn't believe me. "It smiled at me," I whispered. I heard him sigh before saying goodnight and hanging up the phone. I curled myself into a ball on the couch and attempted to sleep. But I didn't. How could I after that? As soon as the sun came up, I packed my things and bolted for the door. I had tried calling my boyfriend 6 times to tell him I was on my way home. No answer. As I opened the door, I bumped right into the woman. She was back early. I didn't even know what to tell her when she asked how my stay was. "Look, I have to go. My boyfriend isn't answering his phone and I need to get home." I pushed her aside without thinking, just wanting to get to my car. "Why isn't he answering?" she asked with concern in her voice. I wasn't sure why she cared. I shrugged and continued down the stairs. I could see my car through the window on the bottom floor. I was so close to escaping. "Did you tell?" I heard her say softly from her room. "You told, didn't you?